Good morning again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Shay Awojabi. I am a security technical specialist here at Microsoft. On the call with me, I have my moderators, my fellow teammates, Saman Sachian and Mojias Gary. They will be moderating the chat. So again, if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to put it in the chat. Today, we will be talking about cybersecurity in education, specifically Microsoft Defender, around the Microsoft Defender for Office 365 product. On the agenda today, we'll talk about some of the challenges that security teams currently face. We'll do a deep dive into Defender for Office 365. We'll talk about Defender for Office Plan 1, but do a technical demonstration of the Plan 2 features. We would also give a snippet, a highlight of Security Copilot and show you a demo of that as well. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Now, when we look at the current, threat landscape, we see that a whooping 91% of cyber attacks start with email. Between April 2022 and April 2023, there were about 156,000 daily business email compromise attempts, with about $2.7 billion in loss associated with business email compromise in 2022 alone. Now, with all of these challenges, security teams need a solution that can help them curb these issues by preventing these emails from coming through, by easily identifying them when they come through, protecting their domains and top identities, but also importantly, they need a solution that can make it easy to investigate and remediate these threats. In addition to this, they want to ensure that they can easily train their end users so they can recognize malicious emails and not fall trap to them. Now, finding all of these capabilities in one solution can be hard, but Defender for Office 365 has been designed to help our customers and our security teams address a lot of these challenges. Now, in addition to these challenges or these numbers that we have just discussed, from our numerous customer conversations and our own research, we see three main challenges to securing an organization. The first being the threat landscape is continuing to evolve, right? We are seeing that it's becoming more complex to respond to these threats, right? Because the bad actors are developing sophisticated attacks faster than ever. The second thing that we are seeing, is becoming a lot more overwhelming, time consuming and expensive to correlate all of the signals that you're getting, right? You're getting signals from identities, from endpoints, from emails, from applications. Putting all of this together and trying to figure out what exactly is going on in your environment can be very overwhelming and challenging. The next thing that we are seeing is for a lot of the time our customers are using disparate solutions, right? They have one particular solution managing endpoints, another managing emails and identities. Now, having to look through these multiple portals to understand the alerts, the signals that they're getting can cause some inefficiencies, right? So let's talk about, how Microsoft is positioned to help our customers do this. Before we talk about the functionalities of Defender for Office, let's talk about why can Microsoft help address some of the security challenges that you're facing. As of today, we are able to leverage over 65 trillion signals every single day across multiple solutions, so that we can help ensure that we understand that threat landscape, right? We are getting insights or signals from over 1.2 billion PC servers and IoT devices. We're analyzing about 470 billion plus emails. We're authenticating about 630 billion plus identities. All of these insights that we are getting positions us to be able to develop solutions that can help ensure you understand that threat landscape, and can respond to both signature-based attacks and zero-day attacks that might come through. In addition to this, yearly, we are investing about $1 billion to our security stack to make sure that it's not just best of breed, but also best of suite. With the Microsoft Threat Intelligence, we make sure that the bad actors have to work super hard to be able to identify, to be able to, penetrate or do any types of attacks in your environment. Now, let's take a deep dive or take a quick look at Defender for Office 365. A lot of you might be familiar with our auto security solutions across Defender for Endpoints, Defender for Identities, Defender for Cloud Apps. If you're not, please feel free to reach out to your dedicated specialist, and they will be happy to set up a call with you to look into that. But let's take a look at Defender for Office. Now, having discussed, some of the challenges that are being faced by security teams and having heard from our customers the type of solutions that they're looking for in a a solution that protects their collaboration environment, we designed Defender for Office to be able to help customers prevent any types of cyber threats by creating those policies, right? Make sure that you're able to also detect them if anything comes through, and importantly, make sure that it's easy for you to investigate and hunt them. And with the Defender solution, with the Plan 2 version, you're able to then have Microsoft do that automatic investigation and response, where without any intervention from your security teams, we can go ahead and look through that alert, go ahead and investigate in and perform remediation actions on the alert that we are seeing. Importantly, in addition to all of this, you are able to then perform attack simulation trainings and ensure that your environment is secure, such that you're simulating an attack in your environment. Your end users can use that to learn, so that when the real one comes, they're better prepared to address it or to know how to respond to that. Right now, having kind of talked about the high level of what Defender for Office can do, let's kind of go deep dive into some of the functionalities that are in there. There are two parts to Defender for Office, like I mentioned. There is Defender for Office Plan 1, which is what everything that you see here highlighted in the blue color is what you get with Plan 1. If you have just Exchange Online today, as part of EOP, Exchange Online Protection, you have all the pieces that are not highlighted in blue, right? But with Plan 1, you get the pieces that are highlighted in blue. And then we'll talk about the other things that you get with Plan 2 in a few minutes. But let's kind of go one after the other into the functionalities here. So starting with sender intelligence, we have mailbox intelligence. And what we're looking to do here is to learn the patterns of your end users, to learn the email patterns, right? Who are they communicating with? How often are they communicating with this user? So if, for example, I'm going to pick on someone. If, for example, I'm typically sending emails back and forth with Carlos Medina, and then the person goes ahead and, a bad actor goes ahead and sends me an email with Carlos, but instead of an A, they use an at, right? We want to be able to say, hey, Shay, this person looks like someone you typically chat with. You might be buddies with this person, but they're not who they say they are, right? So we're able to learn the patterns that you have in your email, and we can then provide, guidance when a bad actor is trying to, impersonate a user or whatnot. The next piece here is user impersonation. And what that means is, again, say I'm typically chatting back and forth with Moji as Gary, someone that seems like Moji. Who are the top, let's think about it this way. Who are the top identities in your organization? Your CFO, your CEO, your, CISO, and someone is trying to impersonate them using a variation of their email, right? We want to make sure that we can notify your end users that, hey, this looks like someone that might be in your organization, but they're not, the right person. So pay attention to the link, pay attention before responding. We've had scenarios where someone sends an email, the CFO says, hey, go ahead and do this $10,000 wire transfer. And because the user thought, it's the right person, they went ahead and did that transfer, therefore resulting in financial loss, right? And those are the types of things that we want to curb. The next piece here is domain impersonation, where we're saying, just like we see in the picture, we want to make sure we can protect your domain such that if there are variations of your domain being used to send an email, we can identify that and notify, your end users of that. So if someone is trying to send an email, instead of Microsoft, they're using an O, or they're using different variations of this original domain, we can identify that. Now, the next piece is content filtering. And again, if you have questions as we go along, feel free to put it in the chat. The next piece is content filtering. With content filtering, what we're looking to do with safe attachments, if someone is sending an attachment that has been determined to be compromised, first off, we'll open that attachment in a safe environment, in an IPv environment, to make sure it's safe before delivering. You can also kind of create your policies to say, hey, If the attachment is, you determine that it's, not safe, go ahead and block it. You can say go ahead and deliver, go ahead and redirect to a particular mailbox. And you can also do dynamic delivery where we deliver the content of the email, and then reattach the attachment at a later time. Another thing that we do here is linked content detonation. So if there's a URL that points to a file that is malicious, we can also protect you on that front as well. Now, post-delivery, if at the time where you receive a link, it was not, malicious, at the time of click, we are able to, ensure that you're protected there as well. So you're redirected to a safe link. And with all of this, it's not just applicable externally. So it's not just if someone externally sends you an email that has a malicious link, it's also internal. If, someone within the organization sends another person within the organization a link that is malicious, you are protected on that front as well. And all of these protections are applicable in the Microsoft 365 environment: SharePoint, OneDrive, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, etc. All of the Office clients that you can think about, you can get that protection there. All right. Now let's take a quick look at some visuals of what the Plan 1 feature would give to you, right? So say, for example, John Doe is the primary identity, is the key person at our organization. Here is his email address. We want to make sure that if someone using an Outlook or, someone using this email with this display name sends an email, we can prompt the end user on that. So here's another example. This is the sensitive user. Here is a suspicious user. Or, here as well, where we have conto with double O, contoso.com, we can, kind of notify the recipient with a policy tip saying, hey, this message is a phishing attempt, right? Or this email looks like, you don't often get an email from this person. They look similar to someone you've previously had a conversation with, right? So those are the ways that we're able to prompt your end users of any types of phishing attacks that might be going on. And you can also kind of customize all of these things, customize the text that they get, and things like that. With safe links, here is what that looks like, right? They click on the link, they get redirected to a page that says, hey, this website has been considered malicious, stay away. You can also still allow the end users to proceed to the original URL. You can kind of customize those settings within the Defender portal. And you can, of course, brand this, add your own logos, and kind of make it pretty if you want to. So these are things that you have the ability to do within Defender for Office 365. Now, let's take a quick look at a day in the life of a security team. Then we'll transition into the demo tenant to show you how Defender for Office or Microsoft 365 Defender can help you through this. So typically, an end user, the security team would get an alert because probably an end user has reported an email as phishing, and it has then triggered an alert in the SOC tool. You then have to go ahead and analyze that alert to see, are there any types of threats? Is this email malicious? Are there any indicators of compromise? What is Microsoft saying about this particular threat? What's the verdict? You want to investigate the scope of the threat, right? Who is the sender domain, all of the details of that email. You want to assess what entities were impacted, right? Which users got the email? What's the email prevalence across, or the URL prevalence across your organization? Did anyone click on the URL? Do you want to investigate the user and take action on the user? Are there devices that have been impacted? Do you want to contain the device, isolate the device? Do you want to apply conditional access policies on those users? And of course, how do you want to respond to it? Do you want to remove that email, or remediate the device, or block the IP or sender domain or URL? Right? These are kind of the things, or the flow that the security team would typically take, right? So let's take a quick look at how Microsoft 365 Defender can help you with that. And I'm going to pull up my demo tenant. Let me know when you can see. Well, hopefully everyone can see. All right, so here's the home page of Microsoft 365 Defender. If you're not familiar, you can access it by going to security.microsoft.com. All right, Joel, I see you can see. Thank you for acknowledging. All right. You can access it by going to security.microsoft.com. And here, earlier on, we talked about some of the challenges that security teams face, right? Disparate solutions. Within this Defender portal, you're able to manage your entire infrastructure. So you have your Defender for endpoints to manage your devices, your servers, your IoT devices, things like that here. Defender for endpoints. We have Defender for identities to manage those identities in your environment across the cloud and on premises. We have Defender for Office 365 to manage your collaboration environment, which we're focusing on today. And then we also have Defender for Cloud Apps. Now, again, the benefit of this is you're not having to go into multiple portals to perform that investigation. Now, on the home page here, you get a bunch of information. What's your secure score? You can get some insights into how to improve that score. What are some devices that are compliant or not compliant? And you can then start taking action there. What are the devices in your environment that are at risk? You can go ahead and click into them and start investigating. Who are the users? So basically, this dashboard gives you a good visual on the health of your organization, so you can start taking action and making it, cleaner and healthier. But let's take a quick look at what, an incident will look like. So we'll come here. Earlier on, we talked about, having to investigate multiple alerts, trying to figure out what all of these alerts mean and correlating those signals. Right here within the portal, you can use the filters as necessary. You're getting alerts across all of the various detection sources, right? Defender for Office, Defender for Endpoints, etc. But rather than you having to do that manual work of correlating the signals, right here in the incidents page, we are doing that for you. So you would see with some of the incidents that we have here, they have about 14 alerts, 26 alerts, 40 alerts, and all of these are across the various, detection sources that we have mentioned. And what you see here is, if you click into one of these, for example, we have said, hey, these are all the alerts that we are seeing. This is the type of attack that we are seeing based on all of these signals that we are getting. So again, leveraging that threat intel that we mentioned earlier, we're able to give you full insight into what is going on these various alerts that you're getting. Now, again, here we have categorized it as a BEC fraud, credential phish. We can go ahead and look into each of these alerts to kind of investigate them. But we can click into one of these alerts, for example, and see, kind of continue that investigation process. So in this case, for CAM, a potential malicious URL click was detected. On the right-hand side, if we scroll down, we can see the incident that has been formed, which is where we are at now. But at the bottom, you can also see that automatically Microsoft went ahead to trigger an investigation, right? You can go ahead and click into that investigation to see, what exactly did Microsoft do with this investigation that was performed. Here you can see the investigation graph. We received an alert. We went ahead to collect all the entities and analyze those entities for you. We looked at the mailboxes, we collected some evidences, and we went ahead to take some action. You can come here to the mailbox and go ahead and investigate that user, right? And all of this you can do just right within this one portal. So if we click on more details about the user, you're able to see who that user is, what permissions they have within AD or Azure Active Directory. You can go ahead and force a password reset on that user from within here. All of those actions, you can see the risk score. All of those actions you can do from within this one portal, right? You can disable the user in Active Directory, basically take action on the user from here. But let's go back. We can close this out. We can click on the evidences and see what were the evidences that Microsoft collected during this investigation. What was the verdict? We determined that these were all malicious and we went ahead to prevent them. You can click into this as well to investigate further, where you're saying, hey, I want to go ahead and hunt this particular, evidence. I want to see how prevalent is this particular, title in my entire environment. Again, you can see all of the details of that email, and you can go ahead and hunt from here. If you want to see, the entities that were collected and kind of get some insight there as well, you can do that from here. Click on the URLs, click on the emails, look at the email clusters. All of those things you can do from within this portal. And the final thing that I'll call out here before we go into Defender for Office specifically is from within here, you can also see, what exactly, when Microsoft was doing this investigation, what was the process, right? We looked at the mail cluster, we looked at the reputation of the URL. Basically, you can see the specific actions that were taken when we're performing this investigation. So those are some of the things that you have the ability to do within this pane. And of course, if you're kind of looking at it from an holistic standpoint, you can look at the various assets, the users, the devices, the applications, if those were involved in this particular incident. Okay. So let's take a quick look. Let's focus now on, the email and collaboration side of things. So right here, when we click on the Explorer pane, one thing that what we'll get to see is all the various emails that are coming through in your environment. And from within here, you can go ahead and select the emails. You can also kind of categorize and say, hey, I want to see just the phishing emails. That will pull it up for you. You can filter by dates, increase the timeline, and also filter by specific criteria and then refresh. So let's say we want to look at phishing emails here. You get, all of that insights for the duration or the timeline that we're looking at. From within here, we can begin to take action. We can say, hey, I want to move this to junk folder, or go ahead and art delete, soft delete. You can go ahead and kind of take action here. Or another thing that we mentioned. So with Microsoft, we can go ahead and automatically do that investigation and remediation process. But you can also trigger an investigation by yourself and say, hey, for this particular email, Microsoft, I want you to, investigate the sender, investigate the recipient, basically trigger an investigation for that particular email. So those are things that you can do as well. So let's say we want to kind of investigate one of the emails here. We can click into this. On the right-hand side, it brings up a pop-up where you can get, additional insights into, the email, the delivery details, the email details. You can look at the URL to see what URL was sent. Go ahead and click on that. You can go ahead and, see that URL prevalence across your organization in the last 30 days. Are we seeing it on some devices, in some emails? Are people clicking on it? If you need the registrant contact info, you can kind of see that as well. From within here, you can go ahead and manage it and probably add it as an indicator of compromise. You can add it to your tenant block list. You can, of course, go ahead and hunt it as well and get additional, additional investigations on that URL. And you can open the URL page to perform additional investigations as well. In this case, let's kind of look at another one. Here, you see that it's a kind of a similar experience that you're getting. So let's say we were looking at this, the file is ready. If there are any URLs or attachments, you get to see that. We can then go ahead from within here to take action on the email. So we can say, I want to move this to a mailbox folder, or I want to submit it to Microsoft for review, propose a remediation, or, initiate an automated investigation. Those are the types of actions that you can take. You can open up the email entity to get additional, context into the email. From within here, you can see if it's a phishing email, if there's an impersonation attempt going on. You can see if there are similar emails of this type in your environment. Looks like we have a lot of this. We can kind of see, all of that information from here. We can look at the analysis. In this case, it looks like there is an impersonated user scenario that was detected. From here, you can go ahead and configure a phishing policy such that we can catch those subsequently, or you can protect those specific users subsequently. So those are some of the things. And from within here as well, you can go ahead and take action. If you want to preview the email to see what it looked like for the end user when they received it, you can go ahead and do that here as well. So those are some of the actions that you can take when it comes to, when you're performing that investigation. And again, if this is something you want to kind of take a deeper look at, feel free to reach out to your dedicated account team, and they'll be happy to set up a call with you. All right, so let's take a quick look at, investigate. Oh, actually, that's still on this page. Another thing that you can do, right? You can say, I want to see who are the top targeted users in my environment, right? Who are people that are constantly receiving phishing emails or phishing links? You can increase the timeline as well, so you're getting, more data. Go ahead and refresh that. You can see the specific users. You can see how often how many attempts have been they've had on their particular emails. Those are the types of information. And then from there, you can say, hey, for this user, I want to create a risk-based conditional access policy where and with the Entra ID P2 solution, you can say if there is any types of risky signing experience or there's something risky about this user, their password gets compromised, I want you to maybe put some additional MFA checks or force a password reset or block them from coming into your environment. So you can, from this information, start taking actions to better secure your environment, right? If there are some URLs that have been clicked on a lot, like some top URL clicks, you can begin to again add them to your, tenant block and allow list and basically start taking action to better secure your environment. So here are some of the things that you have the ability to do within this pane. Okay. Now let's take a quick look at what investigations look like. We kind of looked at this a little bit within the incident pane, but let's take a look at this as well, specific to Defender for Office 365. So let's say we're looking to see all the various investigations that have been triggered that either Microsoft has started on its own or you have triggered by yourself. You can go ahead and click into this. It would open it up in a new window. And again, you see that beautiful graph that shows, what happened. We received an alert. We went ahead to analyze the entity. And in this case, looked like it was an administrator that triggered this investigation. So the first one that we had looked at was triggered by Microsoft. Here is an example of where an admin triggers that investigation, right? So an alert was received. The admin triggered a user compromise investigation specifically. We analyzed the entities. We analyzed the mailbox. We collected some evidences. And then we have gone ahead to take some action where we are now kind of waiting for the administrator to just go ahead and approve that action that we're looking to take. And in this case, we're trying to require the user to reset their password the next time they sign in. So again, all you had to do was get that alert, trigger an investigation. We went ahead to determine what the best course of action would be. And all you need to do here is to approve or reject the recommendation, right? Or the action that we have proposed. And same experience here, you can go ahead and look at the logs, look at the entities that were collected, investigate that a little further, look at the evidences and whatnot. Okay, so let's take a quick look, and that's the piece that we'll cover from an investigation standpoint without Security Copilot. In a few minutes, we'll talk about the Security Copilot piece. But let's talk about what attack simulation training looks like within Microsoft Defender. Defender for Office 365. So right here, see within the same pane, I'm using a different tenant here. Within the same pane, we click on attack simulation training. And what you see, if you've run a simulation before, is some reporting, right? You can see who are the repeat offenders in your organization, who are the people that are constantly clicking on those links, irrespective of what you do, who are the people that are less accessible to being phished or to being compromised, how many users have you targeted with your simulation, and based on this, you can kind of start using that report to target these users that are repeat offenders or people that have not been simulated yet. But let's go through what creating a simulation looks like. It's pretty straightforward. So we go ahead and click on launch a simulation, right? You can select the specific social engineering technique that you use. And like you can see here, we have created this based on the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Go ahead and select the one. Let's do credential harvest for this demo. Go ahead and give this a name, test. Go ahead and click next. And what you can then do from here is to select the payload that you want to kind of send out. You can kind of see a preview of what the payload is going to look like. From within here, you can also see the predicted compromise rate, right? It looks like expense report sharing has a higher predicted compromise rate. So you can click on that, preview it to see what it's going to look like. If you want to see what the login page will look like, you can also kind of see that. Does it look believable? If it was you, would you put in your password? I probably would. You can see how many simulations of this that you have launched. But in addition to this, so we have about 100 payloads for credential harvest, right? But you can also create your own payload, right? So you can create a payload that is tailored to your organization for emails or teams. Select the technique that you want, go ahead and give it a name, and then you can kind of customize it as you please. Put in your logo, put in the message that you want them to see, all of that fun stuff. You can customize it as well. So you're not limited to just the Microsoft payload. But if you wanted to kind of get started today, that's something that you can leverage for sure. So let's say we want to use the Wells Fargo email verification one. Go ahead and click next. You can target users, so you can include everybody or just specific people in the organization and then exclude certain people as well from the policy. Then you're not just simulating an attack, you also have the ability within this tool to also provide training. So if someone clicks on the link or not, they can get redirected to a page that says, hey, you need to learn about, social engineering techniques. You need to learn how to report an email if you determine it as phishing. You can leverage within the Microsoft, we partner with Terra Nova to make these trainings available. So you can leverage the Microsoft catalog. But if you already have your own training solution and you want to continue using it, you can redirect to that URL as well. But to save costs, it's probably better to just leverage, what Microsoft already has for you. You can say, hey, go ahead and assign that training for me, right? Microsoft can pick and choose, or you can select the training courses by yourself. And we'll get to the next page where you can then see the various trainings available. From within here, you can select when should they complete the training, 30 days after, 15 days after the simulation. You can go ahead and kind of pick that. And then here is where you pick the training. If you want to, like we said, you can have Microsoft recommend that for you for simplicity. But if you want to choose the training that, you want your end users to take, you can kind of pick them from within here. So you can do, hey, I want them to do one on business email compromise. You can see how long the training is for. There's one on phishing websites. You can see how long the training is for. You can also preview these trainings if you want, right? And of course, you can decide to assign to whom you want this, who do you want to take this, training? Do you want it to be just the compromised people, everybody, people that clicked on the payload? You can kind of decide all of those things from here. So let's go ahead and click next. Now, here is where you also determine your landing page, right? So when they click on that link, what do you want them to see? In this case, let's say we want them, if you're picking that one, here is what they will see. You say, it's okay, you're human, let's learn from this, and then you get redirected to a training. We have different templates that you can leverage, and it's available in multiple languages, but you can also, again, we're all about flexibility and simplicity. You can also create your own tenant landing page as well if you want it to kind of be branded and more personalized, right? So you can design that as you please across multiple languages as well. But for the sake of this demo, we're going to use one of the global landing pages that we have. So let's say we're picking this one. You can upload your logo as well, even if you're leveraging, the Microsoft template. Let's go ahead and click next. And then here is where you determine what the end user would see from a notification standpoint. So if they did not click on the link, or if they, did not click on the link, and then they reported it as a phishing email, you can get, hey, thank you for reporting the phish, right? Positive reinforcement across multiple languages as well. You can also determine when that will be delivered. Do you want it to be delivered after the entire simulation has been done? Do you want it to be done during the simulation, or do you want to not have that at all, right? Same thing for the training reminder. How often do you want them to be reminded that they should complete their trainings? And here is what that would look like as well. Now, once you kind of pick and choose all of these things, it's as simple as launching. Go ahead and launch it or schedule it to be launched for a later time, right? And you're good to go. They go ahead and receive an email, and all the policies, all the things that you have set will kind of begin to take action. Like I mentioned, so we talked about training from an attack simulation standpoint. So you simulate an attack and then they get redirected to a training. You can also have training campaigns where you're just sending your team, your end users trainings to learn about some of this, social engineering techniques across, to learn about security, compliance, privacy, all these things. So they're better versed and prepared for, again, when any of these things do happen. From a reporting standpoint, very similar to what we had on the dashboard, where you can see who have been simulated, who are the repeat offenders, things like that. You can also automate some of these processes. If someone clicks on a link, then do this. You can create some automations here. And then from a personalization standpoint, if you want to tailor a lot of these things to your organization, here is where you can design the login page that you want them to see, or you can determine the payloads, just as we saw when we were creating the simulation attack. You can determine what the fish landing page would look like, right? So those are things that you have the ability to do and get and kind of customize from within here. Again, if you have any questions, if this has been relevant to your team, please feel free to put, a comment in the chat or ask your questions in the chat. All right, so that is high level what you can get with Defender for Office 365 Plan 2. Now let's take a quick look at Security Copilot and how Security Copilot can kind of aid that investigation process. We've talked about how, Defender can help you through the life of a security team. So let's look at Security Copilot. Now, before we go into Security Copilot, though, let's talk about the foundational models. Now, the future of AI is models that are flexible, that are reusable, and that can be applied to just about any domain or industry task. Over the last decade, AI has made significant progress on perception tasks, so being able to, extract information from loads of data, being able to caption an image or, follow specific instructions, or ask it a question and it being able to respond to you in human-like language. But more recently, the field is witnessing new advances in the form of generative AI, underpinned by a class of large-scale models known as foundation models. And foundation models are trained on massive amounts of data and are capable of performing a wide range of tasks. So you're able to, we have pre-trained the model on vast amounts of data, on tons of words. Therefore, it's able to then predict, right, what's the most likely thing that you're going to type, or it's able to respond to your questions in a human-like format, right? Now, with the foundational models, they have been trained with words, right, with data, with good amount of data. But when we think about Security Copilot, what we have done is rather than just training the model on words, if you remember at the beginning of the presentation, we talked about the 65 trillion signals that we are getting. We have trained the model on security-specific telemetry and threat intelligence, such that the solution can speak security language, right? We have trained the model on not just words, but again, on all of these trillions of, security language, such that you can impute a line of code and ask it to say, what exactly is this code doing? Or if you do not know how to write KQL queries, you can go ahead and say, hey, go ahead and write this KQL query for me, and it will go ahead and do that for you. We have done it in such a way that we can simplify the jobs of our security teams. Now, how does Security Copilot work? Basically, you submit a prompt, just as you would do with Microsoft 365 Copilot today, or with, ChatGPT or Bing Chat Enterprise. You submit a prompt. it goes ahead to determine the initial context and build a plan using all the available skills. So you're able to integrate security, Sentinel, Defender, Microsoft 365 Defender, Intune, Entra ID. And it's then able to execute the plan to get the required data context to answer the prompt that you've put in, right? And then it combines all of that to provide the response that you're seeking. So here is a visual. You go ahead and send in a prompt to Security Copilot. It goes ahead to ground that information, analyze it, look into the various plugins or third-party security products that you might have that you've integrated into Security Copilot. And then what happens is it makes sure that during the model processing, responsible AI checks are performed, and then it provides you with a final validation of the response that you're looking for. Right, so let's take a quick look at what that looks like in the demo tenant, how it can actually simplify your process. So as of today, let's say when we are performing an investigation, one thing that you do, and we'll start demo here, just like we did earlier, we went ahead to the incidents pane. We picked on a specific incident. In this case, we'll work with the business email compromise like we did before. We click on the incident. We can see all the various alerts here. We can see some actions that have been taken. We can see, the verdict on this email. But to the right-hand side, rather than having to click into each of these, alerts to understand what they're doing and see what's going on, from the get-go, Security Copilot gives you a quick summary and tells you, hey, between this time to this time, this is the type of attack that was going on. BC fraud and credential phishing. It's high severity. Here's this particular user clicked on a suspicious URL on their Windows device. Here's the user's email address. Here's the IP address. Here's the region or the location. And based on this information, from the get-go, I can start taking action on the user. And even from at the below here, you can see that Security Copilot is giving you some remediation actions. We want to go ahead and force a password reset for this user. We want to go ahead and take action on the device that has been compromised. We want to go ahead and we did Entra ID, make sure that this particular IP address is being blocked or is put in a conditional access policy. Now, all of this information, rather than doing this in like 10 to 15 minutes, I can see all of that information within 2 minutes or a minute and start taking action to secure my environment and be in a healthier state. Right. So again, it's saving our security team a whole lot of time when performing the investigation. Now, one thing that I did not mention here is within the Defender portal, you are able to perform hunting queries, right? So like we mentioned, let's say we want to, look at this and go ahead and hunt this particular subject. We can go ahead and click on this. It will take you to that advanced hunting page where you can then create your query, write your query, and then run it. And then you start seeing the results, right? But there needs to be an understanding of KQL queries for you to be able to do this. With Security Copilot, you can just put it in natural language and say, hey, I want to perform this investigation and search my environment for so and so and so, and it would go ahead and give you that response. Some additional things that I did not run through here earlier is the ability to create a custom detection role where you're saying, I want you to scan through my environment every hour, every 3 hours continuously. Let's give this a title. If you see anything that is medium severity, that is lateral movement or credential access, and is based on the specific MITRE attack technique, right? I want you, let's go ahead and click next, to look at the device where applicable, the mailbox, the user, and I want you to take specific action. So let's say for mailbox, we're saying we're looking at the sender for user, we're looking at the sender object ID. From within here, we can begin to take automatic actions on those users as well. So that's another layer where you can create the criteria, and based on those criteria that you have set, we can either mark the user as compromised, we can disable the user, force a password reset, etc. Or from an email standpoint, delete the email or move it to a particular mailbox folder, right? So these are some of the actions that you can take as well within Defender for Office 365. I didn't call this out earlier, so I wanted to do that. Now, going back to Security Copilot, Some additional things that you can do is, let's say a bad actor is in your environment, is running certain scripts and specific endpoints in your environment, and you want to understand what that script is. From within here, you can go ahead and select suspicious script analysis. You put in the script that it is that the bad actor has run, and go ahead and run. And what you see is it begins to simplify that script for you. It begins to tell you, hey, here is exactly what this person was doing. Here's what this script means, right? The following script was found as part of a potential security incident. What is the script doing step by step? It begins to process that for you. And it gives you the response. And once this loads in a few seconds, it gives you the response. You can ask, is this script malicious? It gives you the response as well. There you go. So it tells you the intent of this script appears to be downloading and executing a potentially malicious executable file from a particular server, right? You can then go ahead and ask, is the script malicious? What's the reputation of this IP? Any question that you have about this investigation, you can begin to ask in natural language, and the tool will begin to provide those answers for you, thereby, again, simplifying your security, your investigation process, and making sure that you can get your environment to a healthier state in a quicker time frame. All right, that brings us to the end of our presentation for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We do have one more webinar coming up in about 2 weeks on Microsoft Teams Voice and Teams Premium. If you have any questions that we've not addressed today, please feel free to put it in the chat, and we will be happy to answer those. Okay. For right now, Security Copilot is not generally available yet, so we do not have insight on the licensing. It should be available by end of February or March, and by then we can provide some additional insight on the licensing that you need. I just saw that question from Miller. Good question. For sure. Any other questions that we can help answer? Good. Awesome. All right, I'm going to stop recording. Again, if you have any questions, I can be